Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new series where I'm going to be talking about Facebook posts where people are posting their struggles with intrusive thoughts, obsessive patterns, or just trying to get some advice. So think of this as like your inside scoop on what I would say if I were talking to this person. I'm your host, Erin Davis. I'm an OCD therapist and mom to 3 boys, previous military wife. So some of these topics that we're going to be talking about might hit close to home. Have you ever felt like you have two voices arguing in your head, like one that feels like you and then one that's something else? As I read these posts, these are all anonymous, by the way. You're going to hear, if in the first post, she writes, so it feels like there's two voices arguing in my head all the time, one being me and the other being OCD. But the lines are becoming so blurred, I can't tell what words are mine and which ones are OCD because it feels so real. And sometimes there's even emotions behind it, so it feels so genuine, so real. I don't know who I am. It feels like I've completely lost my identity. So, honey, if you wrote this is one of the most confusing parts about intrusive thoughts. Because when these thoughts feel so real, so much like you, it makes you question who you are and your identity. And this is why the thoughts are so distressing. So here's what's happening. Your brain is experiencing the thoughts, feelings, and urges, and it's attaching some meaning and some power to these thoughts. It's getting very entangled in them, and likely it's getting entangled because whatever the OCD voice is saying pertains to a person, activity, event, something that is important to you, something that you value. And just because there is an emotion behind it, that doesn't make it evidence that it's real. It doesn't mean that this is what you truly want. If it doesn't align with your values, then likely it's OCD. Here's another anonymous post. From being very, very young, I've had a voice in my head, it's my voice, saying the most horrible, hurtful, disgusting things which I would never dream of saying, thinking, or even contemplating. For example, I remember seeing my mom, this must be a European person. I remember seeing my mom cry as her father had passed away. The voice in my head is laughing, saying, I'm glad he's dead. I drop my kids at school, and as they run into school, the voice says, I hope a car runs you over. These thoughts are evil. They make me feel like I'm evil, yet I'd never, ever feel, think, or say anything so horrendous. So y'all, listen to me carefully. The fact that these thoughts disturb you is proof of your character, not evidence against it. Evil people don't get upset by evil thoughts. Evil people don't lose sleep worrying about whether they're good people. In fact, evil people get excited or fantasize about these types of things. And that's where some of my OCD patients are like, but am I fantasizing? So they don't know the difference. Here's the other thing, y'all. Don't go into checking your feelings. Okay, because that is a compulsion and that only feeds the cycle. Some OCD therapists would say your brain is producing random, meaningless thoughts, which are about 60,000 thoughts a day, by the way. Most of them you ignore, but OCD grabs onto the most disturbing ones and says, what if this means something about who you are? Now, what I like to do with clients is explore the story behind these thoughts. Like, where have you heard this before? Or where has someone else possibly said this to you? Because these stories tend to have power, and it could be one of those things where you're also getting tricked. So we're going to talk about how these thoughts are tricking you into believing that this is something that you, like the real you, would think. Because OCD creates this whole feared self mentality as well, where the feared self, think of it like the awful, terrible version you never want to become. So anyway, bottom line, y'all, you are not your thoughts. You are observing your thoughts and you're just getting entangled in them. And the fact that you're horrified by the thoughts tells you that this is not who you really are. So if you're struggling with voices in your head, if you can't tell what's you and what's intrusive thoughts, you're not losing your mind. You're experiencing something that millions of people deal with. The voice that's worried about these thoughts, that's you. And the voice that's disturbed by them, that's also you. The random horrible thoughts that pop up, that's just your OCD voice trying to lure you into its bubble. You haven't lost your identity. You've just temporarily lost sight. You've temporarily gotten distressed by the mental noise that the OCD voice is creating. So come back for part 2 in the next episode, where I'm going to talk about when your brain feels responsible for everyone's safety. And remember, you are not your thoughts. You are so much more than the noise in your head. Check out the links in the show notes to grab the one and only spot that I offer every month for my OCD intensives to give you relief in as little as 3 weeks.